very, very serious discussion, and I want you to make the decision whether or not you want to remain for it, because from this point forward, everything we talk about is going to be very, very serious about the future and the survival of African people. We're talking about Barack Hussein Obama, and discussing that, let's lay the context. The context we're going to start with this memorandum. It's called the National Security Study Memorandum 200, and it was authored and approved by Henry Kissinger, white so-called Jew that we call small hats. The small hat Henry Kissinger, December 10th, 1974. And basically, this document, that is a public document, please go online, read the document. But let me summarize what the document is about and what the purpose of it is. The whites around the world have decided that they want to exterminate black people. Let me say it again. I'm going to make it very simple. They want to decrease the population of black people to DEFCON 0, meaning no threat whatsoever, which means no black people. Now, it's not just no black people. They're also trying to exterminate populations of other non-whites around the world as well. But for our purposes, the most important thing to understand is the threat to our survival is a national security threat that's been publicized, it's public, and it's well documented, and it's known. It is not a conspiracy that's hidden that you got to go find somewhere. It's a public policy, and it is called eugenics. It's the science of racial genocide. They have what they call the Federal Bureau of Eugenics, the FBE. Look it up. And what eugenics is the science of genocide. How do you kill 100 million people without having to go and individually kill each single one of them? That is called eugenics. Well, this is the National Study Memorandum. The National Security Study Memorandum 200 is a U.S. government public document that dictates specifically how the process of genocide of African people in particular and others worldwide will occur. And one of the things they said in this document is that it will require the vigorous efforts by interested countries, the UN agencies and other international bodies to make it effective, meaning the white world, governments around the world cannot just expect America or Britain or Canada to do it. They have to unite as a white world in order to exterminate other populations of people, and particularly black people around the planet. And they specify different countries in this document where they say the population rates are too high. These are some particular countries that we're looking at: India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, Philippines, Thailand, Egypt, Turkey, Ethiopia, Colombia. Now, what do we notice about all of those countries? Black people or brown people or yellow people? Any white folks? No countries in Europe. So in other words, the populations of the black nations of the world and other nations have to be decreased substantially. And now they have to discuss how they're going to do it. Now, what we're going to do here, I'm going to show a brief video. We want you to watch this because this video is not us telling you about the National Security Study Memorandum 200, but this is whites actually spelling out not only what the document was intended to do when it was authored in 1974, but how it has been used since 1974 till today in implementation and many things that we have actually witnessed as black people and seen with our own two eyes. So bear with us through this, brothers and sisters.
If you're going to curb population, it's extremely important not to have it done by the damn Yankees, but by the UN. Because the thing is, then it's not considered genocide. If the United States goes to the black man or the yellow man and says, slow down your reproductive rate, we're immediately suspected of having ulterior motives to keep the white man dominant in the world. If you can send in a colorful UN force, you've got much better leverage. Alan Guttmacher, president of Planned Parenthood and former vice president of the American Eugenics Society, 1970.
4 years after Guttmacher made that statement, America's National Security Council issued a report that was intended to define the United States government's official policy on controlling world population. It was called the National Security Study Memorandum 200, or NSSM 200, and it was formulated in cooperation with the United States Agency for International Development, the U.S. State Department, the Department of Defense, and the Central Intelligence Agency. One of its goals was to establish a strategy for reducing the populations of third world countries so that the United States could have increased access to their natural resources, particularly minerals and metals.
Among the conclusions of NSSM 200 was that no country has reduced its population growth without resorting to abortion. The authors of the report then identified 3 non-governmental agencies that would be funded to carry out the government's population control agenda in the targeted countries. One of those agencies was Planned Parenthood.
One of the tactics specified in NSSM 200 was that we might withhold food aid after a disaster if the countries do not accept the American idea of birth control, and this has happened many times all over the world. One example is the Southern American country of Guyana, which was hit by a hurricane back in 1997. Now, they had turned down abortion and birth control for 12 years straight, but after the hurricane hit Guyana in 1997, the World Bank said, we will not give you any aid unless you legalize abortion and birth control, and that's exactly what they did. I've seen this several times in Africa, where droughts have hit, and the United Nations and USAID will not assist unless they accept birth control. I've been all through Africa myself, and I've seen medical clinics that are full of birth control devices, but no safe motherhood delivery kits. There's no anesthesia, there's not even any bandages there. There's crates and crates of birth control pills and condoms. Now, while our commitment to birth control is going up every year, our commitment to authentic economic development is dropping. So we see less clean drinking water funding, less school funding, see less medical clinic funding. Another example is Haiti. Haiti has been hit by hurricanes several times, and the United States and other countries are saturated with birth control. In Haiti now, any woman, 90% of women at least, can now get access to any kind of birth control they want to, government funded, but less than 20% of the Haitians have access to clean drinking water. Now try to imagine there being a natural catastrophe in a country like Canada or Australia or France or England. And we go in there and we say to them, we're not going to offer you any kind of aid unless you accept our philosophy on birth control and population control. That will be outrageous. But that's our standard operating procedure when we go to a black country after a catastrophe of some kind. You cannot believe that we are going to treat people in a foreign country like this and not treat our own population of African Americans the same way. Consider what happened after Hurricane Katrina. One of the first things we did was bring in birth control and contraception. And as we all know, the hurricane disproportionately affected black families in that area. And I seriously doubt if the same kind of disaster hit a middle-class white area, the first response would be condoms and birth control.
So we want to be very, very clear about what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an organized plan that is being executed for the extermination and the murder of black people throughout the world. And it's not just physically going out and shooting and starting wars. It's a very involved process to try to take our population from whatever level it is to ground zero. And so just to make sure we understand that it's not only being operated like that, and that this eugenics process of exterminating black people has been going on for some time. I want to show you, this is going on right now in North Carolina. Right now as we speak, sisters in North Carolina who were forced to be sterilized so that they couldn't have any children are now fighting to get compensated for that. We're going to take a brief look at this clip here just to understand how serious and how involved this is. Not one or two white folks that are doing this. It is a global plan by whites to kill our people. Let's take a look.
It's difficult to talk about, impossible to forget.
I have to get out what the state of North Carolina did to me.
Elaine Riddick, now 57. The man standing by her is her only son, a child she had when she was 14 after she says she was raped. Riddick says the government called her feeble-minded and promiscuous.
They slandered me. They ridiculed and harassed me. They cut me open like I was a hog.
She can never have children again. Neither could Mary Fisher after having 3 children at a young age. She said her doctor enrolled her in a program to get her tubes tied and told her it was reversible. It was not.
Something that traumatic, you don't get over it. No matter how many times I put it in the box, I still brush against it.
The North Carolina Eugenics Task Force listened to these stories as members try to determine how the state should make it up to these victims. Some lawmakers have suggested payment of $20,000.
We thank you, North Carolina, for your apology, but it's not enough. We thank you for the $20,000. That's not enough. You're going to have to look at more. You're going to have to dig deep.
Other victims said they should get free health care for the health problems they had years after and the chronic depression many of them suffered. Yes, it is hard to talk about.
So what am I worth? The kids that I did not have, could not have, what are they worth?
Perhaps even harder to come up with the
worth?
answer.
It's not hard to come up with the answer. The question is not just how much do they pay black people back. The question is, didn't you hear him say she's sitting down with the North Carolina Eugenics Board? Why is there a eugenics board? Why is there a board to determine how many black people should exist? And I want everybody here to hear this, just so you understand the relevance. If you think they were doing this in 1960 and they stopped their plan of extermination of black people, you lost your mind. If you think that black women were going into the hospital to get basic cysts taken off of their bodies and then were getting their reproductive ability taken away from them then, and that they don't have more sophisticated ways to prevent black women from having births today, hint flu shots, hint all these various new stuff that they giving black folks, then you have another thing coming, brothers and sisters, because eugenics is real. For brothers and sisters who want a more full and involved understanding of genocide and the process of how it operates, we have a 2-part DVD, Genocide. They've come to kill us, in the back. You can order it online at onehorizon.com at the store. You can order it online, or you can get it here if you're here today. This is a 2-part that deals with the history of genocide and also the many different ways that whites plan and operate the destruction of black people among us today. It's a very, very good DVD series. We think it'll be very valuable to us for you to check it out. But let's make it clear. In order to exterminate a race of people, there's some very serious things that whites have to be able to prevent, and there's some things they have to do. You can't just wake up in the morning and go out and say, hey, black people, I'm going to kill all of y'all. Because they came and told black people that, we're not the kind of people that's going to stand by and say, oh, okay, that's cool. You start telling brothers you want to take their mamas out and their wives out and their children, you're going to have some fight back. So there's some things in order for this to work that whites have had to put in place. And we just want to mention a few of them very quickly to understand. 1, prevent an international coalition of progressive black people. Why is that so important? In order to exterminate a race of people who are everywhere around the world, they dragged us, stole us, and kidnapped us from Africa, then spread us all throughout the world. Then they realized, man, we made it more difficult to kill them now because they're not all in one place. Now we got millions of them in America, millions of them in Brazil, hundreds of thousands and millions of them in Europe. Uh-oh. Now they got to say, how we destroy them? Well, the one thing they can't have happen. Imagine with the internet, if brothers in America and sisters in Europe and brothers and sisters on the African continent and brothers and sisters in Brazil, we just start talking. What's going on there? And we start talking. All of a sudden we say, well, they're doing that here too. And we start realizing we have the same problems. And guess what? We start organizing towards the same interests. So they cannot. They have to prevent us from talking to one another and having a coalition internationally. 2, they got to prevent the emergence of a serious black military threat. And that doesn't matter if it means a military in Africa or a group like the Black Panthers in Black America. Why is this such a threat to them? Black people, we are rhythmic people. The way things work is they might got us all around the world, we down and we low today. One group of black people get up, brothers and sisters get out there and start fighting and actually get over that hump a little bit, and we see success, we rhythmic. 20,000 miles away, we'll say, yeah, we can do the same thing. And before you know it, overnight, by looking at a successful operation from one group of black people all over the world are saying, yeah, now, you know what, we're not going to tolerate this. So in order to prevent a move of black people from getting militant, they can't let one group demonstrate their strength and let the rest of it see it when it happens, because they know it will mushroom, and in pockets all around the world, they'll have resistance. Can't kill a people that's fighting back. Prevent a relevant self-help black political movement. I'm going to say it again. Prevent a relevant self-help black political movement. What do I mean by relevant? Meaning it can't just be localized where they can control it. They cannot have a UNIA of the 1920s reemerge under Marcus Mosiah Garvey that's totally independent and black. I'm going to tell you why it's such a threat. Because if one organization becomes relevant to black people, first of all, they can no longer come with the white organizations into your homes and communities smiling to try to help you. You already got black people that will help you. Well, the difference is the whites are trying to help you to kill you. They want you to help. They smile at you, and then they find ways to kill you. The black people will come, and black people will help you. You don't even want the whites to help you. And what will happen, no matter where that black group starts, they can start with economics, they can start with something social, they can start with anywhere we start. And this was such a threat. Because the global system of racism and white supremacy is so global and assault is everywhere, anywhere you start, it leads you to the next thing. So if we start finding a way to create a nice business where our people are getting in and starting to make money, all of a sudden we start looking at our people's health and say our people really unhealthy. Well, we got to find a way to deal with health. And then we find out why they so healthy, because we got so many liquor stores in our community. So now that bleeds over into the social thing. Well, we got to do something to get some of all these liquor stores. And then you say, well, yeah, but brothers shooting each other. Well, we got to stop brothers from shooting each other. But we got money over here. Let's give some of them jobs and see if we can pull them away from that. And now everything that they're doing to kill us, now because you start in one place, you start getting a block everywhere they're trying to kill us because they're hurting us in every area. So if somebody's attacking you on every realm, you can't relevantly attack back and get any room anywhere, because then you'll feel it on every direction. So they can't let one organization get through, and they do everything in their power to prevent that, including COINTELPRO and things of that nature. Prevent the rise of a militant black messiah. I want you to hear this, because I know a lot of our people see our condition and think things are so terrible for black people. The whites are not thinking like that right now. They've never been as afraid like they're afraid today. There's something called the internet. And understand, Marcus Mosiah Garvey was the last leader who was able to impact black people internationally, where everybody, not everybody, but the vast majority of black people on this planet bought into his program of self-help and self-development. We haven't had a person who had that kind of global buy-in by black people since that time. We have something called the internet today. I want you to just think for a minute. If there was one, again, I didn't say black leader, I said militant, meaning, understand, the object is to exterminate black people. We got all the information that we need to know that that's what they're doing. If one guy or woman that wants to fight back gets the buy-in from black people worldwide, any problem we have, that one person can say this is a problem, let's end it, and in a day, the whole world can hear what the problem is, and everybody black can decide to change it. So just a basic fundamental example. If we say that we have a problem, light skin to dark skin, we mistreat each other over complexion, one leader that we buy into can say, we're going to end this today. No more dark skin jokes, no more disrespect for anybody in our race of any complexion. We're going to start that today. No more white doll babies for our children, none of that today. And all of our people bought through the whole psychological framework of black people believing that whites are better than us. We get in that, it wouldn't take but a few months. Everybody around the world buys, and now people are making black dolls. Now, anything that will help to take this a different direction, overnight, it would change throughout the world. There is no way they could possibly keep us in this condition. And most importantly, if there's a person that arose in this manner that could capture the interests and hearts of our people, then they would have an incredible problem. Because if they did something to that person, everywhere that you find black people, you would have revolt around the world. Never before in the history of the world have they faced such the potential of communication and a threat of black people that can do things overnight and can talk to each other and tell each other what's going on any place in the world. They're more afraid today than they've ever been ever before. What are some of the other things they have to do? Divorce the relationship between black men and women. This is something they got to do. How can you have a black messiah? How can you have a black family structure? How can you prevent people from exterminating you if the men and the women are apart? If the men and women are together, then the men see that the women are being hurt. The men ain't going to tolerate that. If the men and women are together, the women see that their sons and their husbands ain't doing right, they're going to push them men to fight, and they're going to support them all the way there, and there's no way they can destroy us as a race of people that way, because we'll fight back. But if the men and women are fighting with each other, then they can destroy the race, and that's why they try to divorce that relationship. Keep black people ignorant, misguided, confused, and hopeless. Very important. the whole entertainment system we see, the hip hop, the comedians, what is all this about? What does the hip hop do? I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a do, look at that, oh, she's a this, that, and all it's doing is making black people extremely dumb, tuned into stupidity. And an intelligent people are not going to let somebody exterminate them. But if your focus is on wearing your pants hanging down and how much weed you can smoke that night and you trying to compete for that, while your attention is there, it's easy for them to exterminate you because they put the death inside the marijuana that you're smoking. So it's very important, and that's what this whole thing is designed for. Hip-hop and all this entertainment designed to keep our people dumb. Therefore, we can't see the assault that we under. Misguided. You got Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey would tell black people anything white folks pay him to tell our people today. Why does he do that? He does that because the whites have understand. For those of us that won't be dumb, if we are thinking people, we're intelligent people, then okay, this person thinks. Well then, they're not going to be dumb, but let's just misguide them. So they're thinking about the wrong things. They're thinking about promoting their own genocide through homosexuality or gay marriage or any of this kind of stuff. So they misguided, or they're thinking about women's rights instead of black rights. Some kind of misguided focus as opposed to looking at the fact that these white folks are serious about our extermination. Now, once they got us ignorant and misguided and confused, because some people are neither one of those two. They don't listen to all of the music. They're not caught up in all of that. They're intelligent and they're not on the wrong stuff. But it's so much information out there. I mean, there's so many videos on this, that, and the other. It's like difficult to figure out exactly what to do about anything. So we confused. We don't know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. And then lastly, for people that don't fall into any of that, and this is why I say hopeless, it's very important. For the people who see everything that's going on the way they want to get us, because, see, that means that you got a job, you got a way to help your people, you're in a position to help black people. However, you look around at all your people and you can see the condition they're in, everybody's ignorant, misguided, and confused. You trying to help your own people, they stealing from you and don't want to hear nothing you got to say. And you start saying, man, we ain't got no chance, man, I quit. You hopeless. So now, the people that can do something are hopeless. Everybody else is misguided, ignorant, and not thinking about it and confused. Now they can exterminate you. Black people get us into abortion, get us to support abortion and birth control. This is not an attack on any black person. Listen to what we're talking about. I'm not talking about what you're doing. I'm talking about what their objective is. If they want to kill us, they can't make all of us have abortions. If they're going to kill us, on some level, they want us to buy in so that we do it for them. They don't have to call us up to say, hey, I'm trying to kill you. We will go and help them in the process of exterminating our own people, not knowing that there's a plan coming from the outside. Get black people to accept interracial relationships. Many black people say, well, no, but that doesn't make sense because for a black man and a white female, the black gene is more dominant. This is what people don't understand. Let's talk about history, not philosophy. Understand the philosophy. Let's talk about the history. Interracial relationships between black people and whites has only led to one thing historically, the extermination of black people. I'm going to say it again. Black people have never exterminated groups of whites through intermarriage. As a tactic, Brazil, in areas of Brazil has been done, Australia, Tasmania, as a war tactic, whites have taken groups of black people, interracially dated, and exterminated black people as a policy. You can get to death by lethal integration. We show you documented examples where it's happened through history. So let me make it clear. As a historical fact, interracial relationships are used by whites to exterminate black people. It's happened in Kemet, everywhere in the world. Interracial relationships between black people and whites, it exterminates the black race. That's what we're seeing. And the most important one and the big one, this is the big one. They found a major bombshell for black people. They said it's one thing to do all these other things we were talking about, but they said, you know what? We got a magic bullet. Some cracker had a eureka and said, I know how we can finish them. I know how we can exterminate them. If we get them to sexually abuse their own children, and the men are dealing with men sexually and the women are dealing with women sexually, they don't have to have no abortions. They're not going to make any babies. And the people in their community who are healthy, they'll make them sick by molesting them. So if they get us to buy into the sexual abuse, the R. Kelly stuff, and the lesbianism and homosexuality, we produce no children, and the children that do get produced get messed up and violated, it's easy to exterminate the people in that condition. They don't have to do anything else. In fact, I'll make it even easier. They don't even have to exterminate us. Once you got a race of black people where the men think they should be with the men and the women think they should be with the women, you can just step back and let them be what they are. They can't produce anything and they can't do anything but destroy themselves. We are already dead. So they said, let's stop all of this money and energy we spend in doing these other things. We'll continue to kill them in these other ways. Let's focus our major energy and effort into turning them into sexual deviants to stop producing families, decency, and morality amongst their people, and we have killed them. And then it's easy to go in with the guns or whatever else we want to do and seal the deal when it's after that. So I'm going to show you something real quick just because I want you to get this and understand it. They call this thing Planned Parenthood. Raise your hands if you've heard of the organization Planned Parenthood. Raise your hand. All right, you've heard of that. Now, by definition, parenthood requires what? Man and a woman, right? To have a parenthood, right? Because man, woman, child, parenthood. So Planned Parenthood should be promoting, if it's about parenthood, it should be promoting man and woman, right? All right, well, we're going to watch this video from Planned Parenthood that's put online, and then we're going to ask you again, what is Planned Parenthood really about? And I think the answer will be quite obvious.
In 2006 alone, despite having made over $60 million in profit, Planned Parenthood received about $350 million from the U.S. government. And in 2009, Planned Parenthood will receive approximately $1 million every single day from the American taxpayer. That's $1 million every 24 hours. That comes directly out of your paycheck and mine. Now, what you may find interesting is how your money is being spent. To give you just one example, we're going to show you part of a website that Planned Parenthood launched in 2008 called TakeCareDownThere.com. The clip is titled, "I Didn't Spew," and I warn you, many of you are going to find it highly offensive, and you're going to find it especially inappropriate for children, despite the fact that is exactly who Planned Parenthood created it for. As you watch this piece, remember, you helped pay for it.
Whoa, guy, where's the prophylactic?
What do you mean?
Look, oral sex is still sex, okay? If it's unprotected, you gotta reject it.
What? What? But I didn't even spew.
Guys, doesn't matter. Look, if you're having sex or you're getting some blowjays or whatever, you need to use a condom. Because you could catch a sexually transmitted infection, even if you don't spew.
Now, everybody saw that, right?
Now, does this...
Yeah. I know it's very disturbing, but again, remember, this is Planned Parenthood. Most of their agencies and headquarters are in black and Hispanic communities where you can get a cheap abortion. Well, answer me this. If it's about parenthood, why are they showing black men in homosexual relationships and putting that out there? Why? Because it has nothing to do with parenthood. The object, again, as we've been discussing, is the extermination of the black race.